Let's move on to Raymond's question. It says, can you expand on ratios for saving, investing, home, 23/8, all of those things, all the rules and things that we talk about that give a percentage of your gross income? After taxes, it doesn't seem to be enough to spread around and cover living expenses. My car is 4%, my home is 20%. With 4 kids, it's getting hard to get all of that in. Any advice on how he should be thinking about this?
Yeah, Raymond, it's hard, right? You got 4 kids. I'm going to assume that means that you have 4 young kids who are still in the house. You are what we would affectionately call in the messy middle. You are in that stage of life where your disposable time is down, your disposable income is down, and your obligations are way, way up. You have 1,000 different things pulling you in 1,000 different directions. And when it comes to how you allocate your capital, you have your capital having to be allocated in 1,000 different directions. I mean, I love car payment 4%, assuming that's on a 3-year payoff. You're following the money guy rule. Housing at 20% of your total gross income. That is also following a money guy rule. So you're in the great spot. Saving 25%. I don't know if he said that was what he's saving, but if you're saving 25% or you're moving towards that, you're doing the things you're supposed to do, but it ain't easy. It's difficult. And I think the number one thing that you have to do is you have to just take a breath and say, it's going to be okay. Not at all points in time in my financial journey will I be able to do every single thing the absolute best way that I can. And sometimes there are trade-offs. Sometimes life gets tight and we have to be tight for a season, but then that loosens up and we're able to double down on some of those other goals. I think it's okay, especially in the messy middle, for folks to give themselves a little bit of grace, so long as they're not getting out ahead of their skis. They're not getting the more expensive cars, or they're doing the fancy travel, or they're buying the expensive house. If it really is just things are tight because life is tight because of my family circumstance, I think it's okay to have a little grace during that period and then work to improve on it through time.
Well, I want to make sure we clarify on any of the mitigators or grace providers for some of our ratios. First of all, Raymond, have you gone to make sure, assuming on the savings and investing, we always talk about the 20-25%. Don't forget, if you're a household making less than $200,000, you get to count that employer contribution. So if you have an employer that's doing a match as well as profit sharing contributions and other things, employee stock purchase plans, whatever it be, I wouldn't be surprised if you find out that your employer might be putting 5 to 6, maybe even up to 8% of your compensation into retirement for you. Back that out. If you feel like it's squeezing all of the oxygen out of your life, make sure you're taking into account all the funding sources that go into your different margins. Now, that's something that hopefully makes the process feel less pressurized. But I do want to kind of tie into what Bo was saying. And I think it surprises a lot of people. I did not feel comfortable financially. I'd create so much forced scarcity in my life by prioritizing saving and investing while I was in my 20s and 30s. It wasn't until I was probably 42 to 43 years old that I actually felt like I could breathe deep, and I came out the other side and felt like I was actually a successful person. But that doesn't mean that I was, living a miserly lifestyle. I just bedazzled my basic life. We still went on vacations. We did things, but it's just that I had to run a budget. I had to keep the expenses, and I kept very much a disciplined life to prioritize what's the life that I want to live in the future. And I know that's tough. That's why we call it the messy middle. We're very deliberate on being transparent that it's not going to feel easy, but we try to give you realistic, actionable rules that will help you come out the other side. And then when you get in your 40s and you're living in abundance, you'll be like, holy cow, this was worth it. Because also, I think there's some side benefits to squeezing things down in your 20s and 30s too, is that first of all, it's making you better with your resources so that you're not wasteful, because lifestyle creep is legitimate, meaning as you're getting pay raises, if you're not prioritized making sure you're saving and investing and giving, then how are you going to do it as you then add kids, you add the houses? All that stuff is an exercise in making sure you're honing your skills of discipline. And I know it's tough, but I also think that in the long term, it will help even with the kids, because if you build this abundance, they will be at the age where that maybe they didn't get every toy that they wanted. Maybe they didn't get spoiled, but you'll hopefully be teaching them by growing up in this healthy financial life and modeling healthy financial behaviors in front of them. You're also not only get to live your best life in your 40s, 50s, and beyond, all the way through retirement, which if you think about it, it's only a 20-year sacrifice for a 60-year benefit. And you probably pay it forward by having kids that understand a much better relationship because they saw it modeled with their parents on how they should handle money. And I know that sounds crazy, but I really do believe it. And I think that all that stuff works hand in hand together. But do make sure you take a time. I pick on Bo about this because all of us achievers, we get so in a hurry to check off the goals. Do bedazzle your basic life. Still make sure you're taking the time to go build memories. Still some of my favorite memories was the summer my dad was laid off and we went into timeshare presentations. I know that sounds hokey. We didn't get to, but it was just being time with the family was just so valuable that I just want you to make sure it doesn't have to be expensive, but we got lots of parks. We got all kind of really cool things, beaches. There's things that you can do without breaking the budget, but still create those valuable memories that we all get to take for us into forever.
And it's okay that it feels hard. I think if you ask anyone who's in this stage of life, even folks with great incomes and great savings rates, and even if that's not the issue, this is a hard stage of life. And I think it's okay to acknowledge that and to kind of sit in that and be like, you know what, this is great. This is forming me, and I'm going to make it through on the other side, and I'm going to get to a ripe old age like Brian and think, you know what, it worked. It worked really well. It went well.
So what's the Jerry Rice quote? Is I'm going to do the hard stuff today so I can do the stuff nobody else can do in the future or something like that. It's kind of,
something like that.
It's very similar. Dave Ramsey also has that saying, I'm going to live like no one else so I can live like no one else. Yep. But I like Jerry's. It's a really great quote that I always think about whenever I'm challenged to do something really difficult. I always think about that Jerry Rice quote.
Today I will do what others won't, so tomorrow I can do what others can't.
That's exactly right.
That's awesome.